Okay. Yeah, I'm very glad to be there with you, talking about a very important topic for us, which is employer branding. In fact, this is why I think we founded Welcome to the Jungle 5 years ago. In fact, at the time, we were thinking that clearly there was something going on with the issue with the experience at work. The experience at work was not good. I think for many parts, still it isn't. And we're thinking, how can we make it work better? And how can we change the way people experience work? And how can we strengthen this experience? And it's a global problem. It's a very global issue. And well, very quickly, we thought if we want to start working on that, we need to start from the very beginning. And the beginning is, of course, how does a person meet maybe his next company to work with? How can he understand the work, the job that he's willing to do? And how can we change the recruiting process and the recruiting experience? Because at the time, especially for example in France, we did a quick survey on this with 3,000 candidates, and 80% of them were telling us that looking for a job was one of the worst experiences they have online. It was quite paradoxical because, as we know, I think finding the right job for you in the right company is maybe in your top 3 priority in life. And it was quite paradoxical to see that for such an important topic, the experience online, because everybody does this search online, was one of the worst. And you can, I think, find the best restaurant in the world in very far away places, or even find your next wife or husband online, but you can't really find a decent way to have your next job. And what was interesting and what led us at the time to employer branding was that we didn't think it was something about technology or algorithm, or I don't know, making it faster for a company and a candidate to meet, because we thought that, well, all of that already exists and it didn't really improve the situation. We thought that especially when we asked about candidates what they were missing, we understood that the main thing was that they didn't have any information, any clue about what the company really is, what the jobs are really suited for their needs, for their personal needs, for their professional needs, and do they match their global aspirations. And in fact, we understood that content was key in leveraging the overall candidate experience and making people see that, yes, they can understand better what the company is, and they can really, well, in fact, answer this powerful question: does really this company, is there a sense of belonging? Does the word there could apply for me? Will it work? And can I answer my most basic questions? And this is something that they couldn't do in a very classic job offer. So this is why we created Welcome to the Jungle. And if you know our platform, so we built first a media about work. We produce a lot of content from various forms, articles, videos, podcasts. We even have a print magazine here, talking about work, talking about the experience at work. And of course, we have also a recruiting platform, very focused on content and employer branding. And what we do is not only, of course, we have job offers, because they are still essential in the recruiting process, but most importantly, we built with companies a very rich profile, which comprises photos of the work environment, videos of people talking about the job, about the way they see the company, editorial content also, and some statistics which are key to understand where you will go if you join this company. And it was very interesting to see that it completely changed the way people were looking for a job, because first they were saying, well, let's say I want to find a job in marketing in Paris, for example, or in London. So, well, I don't really know what will be the ideal choice, but I will apply to, let's say, 100 jobs, and we'll see what will work. And here what we saw very quickly, and I think what was a very positive attitude for both candidates and recruiters, is that people were taking much more time to think about what they wanted to do, and to think about their application. Because before, a lot of candidates were telling us, well, I have my resume ready, and I spend like 30 or 40 seconds. It is the average time a person takes to look at a job offer. So it's very short. In fact, they don't really read it. They just say, well, it looks like something I want to do, and I just send my application. And on Welcome Triangle, they started to spend like 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes on a company profile, really looking forward to understanding better what the company is does it match my personal values, the way I think about the corporate culture, and will it be the right choice? And it was a profound change, I think, and something I think we succeeded in implementing there, is that people were starting to think, well, maybe first, let's look at it and see if it would work for me, and then I will apply because I strongly believe that there is a possible match. And we understood that this is the cornerstone of Employer Brand, because now the key thing is for companies, and we are working with 3,000 companies, of course a lot in France, but also in other parts in Europe, and they all are all telling us that now Employer Brand is not just something that it was, I think, maybe 10 years before, saying that we need to be known from everyone, from every candidate possible. Today it's about being known for what we are, for our values, for what we stand for, and to be able to attract the people that not only are looking for a job that we can provide, of course, but people that feel that the values they share are their values. So, and so we'll gain a lot of time after that. And what we've witnessed so far is that a lot of companies now are telling us that it's great to have candidates coming from the platform, because we have much more qualified candidates. We have candidates coming to the interviews, actually knowing what we do, because sometimes you have candidates, and I think we've all experienced this, after 2 or 3 minutes, you clearly understand that they're here a bit by chance, and they don't really know what you're doing, and I think the match is not right. And so it's also about building a more positive relationship, a more qualified relationship, and really trying to build Employer Brand as it should be, something that's not meant to attract everyone, but just to be sure that we have a very precise message for candidates, and those who believe this message is for them should apply. So this is a strong belief, and also something we've built over the years. And we believe really that content and the candidate experience are key to build this. And we even, especially with Laetitia with us this morning, we believe that this subject is very large, and it should not only be a recruiting issue, but an overall work experience issue. This is also why we've been working for 2 years now on a book about finding the most interesting and innovative HR ideas or practices we found in other companies, because we also see that employer branding is a recruiting issue, but it's also an onboarding issue. It's also a work experience issue within the company. It has to be global, because not only your candidates will talk about you, but of course your employees will talk about it. And I don't think recruiters or us could be our best brand ambassadors, of course. I think they are, and I think Laetitia will certainly talk about it, I think, in a few minutes. So this is clearly something that is for us key, and this is why we are clearly developing at Welcome Jungle all these issues. And for example, this year was a very intense year for us, despite of course what happened in the few months ago, because not only we wanted to make the recruiting process better and the employer branding process better at the beginning, but we also think we need to improve the experience after that. And so, for example, this year we launched a new product called Welcome Home, which is well, I like to call it an intranet that really works and really feels people engaged. And because we think the onboarding process after the recruiting and the way you engage within the company and you interact with people and the way you share the knowledge is key also for retention and to keep your employees engaged within the company, and also about professional development and so which is also a key topic for content creation, I think. But maybe I will let Laetitia talk about this topic, and maybe especially on what we just talked about is that I think does your employer brand belong to you or your candidates or your employees? The only answer I have for me is that clearly it doesn't belong to you as a founder or as a board of directors. I don't know. For example, I founded the company 5 years ago, and I clearly know now that with 150 people, our employer brand is not mine. It's a collective process, and this is why sometimes it's so complicated, and we should work on that. So I know, Laetitia, if you agree with that, but sure, yeah. I know you are.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Hi, everyone. So I'm Laetitia. I've had the pleasure of working with Welcome to the Jungle for a couple of years now. I think 3 or maybe 4 years, but more intensively since 2018, sorry. With when I became editor-in-chief of the part of the media that publishes content for HR people, for companies, about subjects like recruiting, employer branding, work environment, onboarding, or rather I should say induction, because the word in the UK is induction, and we've been using this American word all along, onboarding, but I'm sure that people in the UK use both words, both expressions. And so I'd like to start this quick presentation about employer branding with the idea that, yeah, your employer brand does not belong to you as an employer, or rather that you can't really control it and be a control freak about it and have complete control, because the truth is, and it's even more true today in the context of COVID-19 and people working from home and this like huge crisis that we're going through. The truth is that it's people's experience on the ground and it's people's perception of your brand that matters most, and they are free to publish anything they like about your company, about that experience. It doesn't mean there's nothing you can do about your employer brand. Quite the reverse. It means you should start with your employees and their experience. So let me start with a few figures about the importance of your reputation. A company's reputation matters more today than ever before. So there were a few surveys that were carried out in the recent years that show that whether or not a candidate will apply is determined by what they read about your company, by what they read or hear about your company from former employees or current employees. So 86%, that's the result of this Randstad survey, 80% of all people say they wouldn't apply for a company whose reputation with former or current employees is dubious. But a good employer brand or good reputation means that they will stay longer. There will be better retention. There will be a lower turnover. It means also not only that you will have more applications, but that the applications that you'll get will be better applications, as people will be 50% more qualified, those who do apply, if your reputation as a place to work is excellent. So what does this reputation as a place to work depend on? The number one thing is the actual experience and perception of the people who live in that place. Number two is your ability to tell a good story about it. And number three, or rather it's the same as number two, is your ability to empower your people, your employees, to tell a good story, an appealing story about you. Because the stories of real people are the stories that are trusted the most. So it really matters that it's really, really essential that you turn your employees into active ambassadors who will tell a good story and help you recruit more candidates in the future. They will refer candidates. We know that referrals are absolutely essential. And so the most important thing for you to, in concrete terms, is obviously to focus on the employee experience itself. And Jérémy, in a few minutes, will say a few more words about one of the things you can do to improve employee experience. Number two, the second concrete thing you can do is introduce candidates to real people. So help potential candidates get in touch with someone real inside the company. So it can be a platform, it can be a web page that will help candidates get in touch with individual, singular, unique recruiters with their own lives and stories and perception that's theirs and theirs only, and who embody the company in their own unique way, in a more personalized way. That's something that the company Eventbrite does quite well. It has this page where people get in touch with real recruiters, real people, not just this, anonymous page where you send an application and you fill in a form, but no, a page where you get to a little bit like a dating site, right? You get to see a person and say, oh, that person looks nice, and I'd like to find out more about that person. Another concrete thing, and that's the last example I'm going to give for this on this topic, is that you have to create some form of alignment or incentive for employees, for your current employees, to tell those fantastic stories about your company. And one of the things they can do is improve their personal branding, improve the way that improve their ability to tell a story. So that's one thing you can do, is help them with coaching sessions, with training, to become better on social media, to have a better LinkedIn profile, to have a better picture of themselves online, to, become better writers, share their expertise. And a lot of people will be a bit shy about that at the beginning. For some, it's hard to start blogging or start, sharing videos or making a podcast all of a sudden. It requires a little bit of coaching. It requires help. And it's something that they will embrace because it's in their interest to improve their own reputation as a worker. It will make them more employable in the future. It will make it easier for them to have other jobs in the future, which is a bit paradoxical because it seems like you're helping them leave you, but it's quite the opposite. In fact, if you help them become more attractive as employees, it will make your company more attractive as a result. So there's a powerful alignment of interests between employees and company in that regards. If you improve their ability to tell good stories about themselves in your company, then you improve your visibility and reputation as a company. And it's really counterintuitive, but it's a very powerful thing to do, to give them all the tools to be better at doing that. In particular, people who are introverts and who need a lot of coaching to do it. Among the people who are sometimes not as well equipped to do it are a lot of women who are not as visible online and who will need probably a bit more coaching to become more visible. And that will help you also improve your reputation as a company that is all for inclusion and that has a good, gender balance and that has women who are successful and who are visible in your company. So that's it for this first point. I think, Jérémy, you wanted to say a bit more about how a company or what a company can do to improve the employee experience, as that is probably one of the most important things to start with.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I couldn't agree more on what you just said, and I think it's always a work in progress, and especially as in fact, even within my own company, I know it's an everyday work on all this. And truthfully, talking about employer brand, clearly the best and first way to improve it is, of course, to treat your teams and your people well. The employee experience is about having the right and the best experience at work. We don't really know today where work is, but let's say at the offices or at home anyway. And what we've learned, I think, especially during COVID-19 and the pandemic lockdown, is that today, when we talk about work experience, it can't be only a superficial topics. Because maybe we've seen it, for example, in the tech industry. Sometimes when we talked about the work experience and the work conditions, it was about nice offices and perks and benefits and so on. And we see that when the situation is changing, none of that really matters. What matters most is to answer people's real and personal constraints. And especially in this situation, we see that one of the most important things that we can do and work on, and so it can improve the overall experience and our brand, is flexibility in the way you work, and most importantly, making flexibility the default option for the company. And it has tremendous effect, I think, on the attractivity of a company, and especially also on diversity issues, which I think are key also in the understanding how your employer brand works, and making yourself available for all kinds of potential candidates. Maybe a few words on this, because at Welcome Jungle, we really think it's a key issue, and really it should be one of the most important issues a company should tackle, especially this year, because I think a lot of companies wonder how they can, dramatically increase the number of women, for example, in their workforce, and reduce this long-lasting gender inequality in their companies. But it's true that if you think about flexible work, it's one of the best ways to change that and to boost equality, because we all know that, especially with this gender bias we have, some people tend to self-select a job where they see that they have a certain amount of flexibility that can be adjusted and help them manage both their professional and personal life. We see how important this was during the lockdown, and therefore the premium that, for example, women place on flexible work condition is a critical factor affecting gender segregation in the labor market. And so you have a lot of companies that are missing a very important part of the candidate population because they don't know how to to bring more flexibility in the workplace, and so to make people understand that they too, with their own personal constraint and the way they live, can apply to this job, can work with this company without always feeling that it's not going to work for them. And most importantly, as we were saying just, I think, 2 minutes before, what is interesting there, and it was, I think, very well described in a book which is called What Works. It's Gender Equality by Design. It's a Harvard professor called Iris Bonet. I said that in French, so I guess it's Iris Bonet anyway. Anyway, she explained that a lot of companies have thought the flexibility thing in the wrong way, because it's not about saying, well, you can find a job with more flexibility. You can ask for more flexibility, because when you do that, you create a bias. And if you need to ask for it, maybe you think you can create bias for the next step, for your promotion, for salary inequalities, and so on. You need to make it as a default option for the company. So for everyone joining the company, for everyone being in the company, it should be something that is already possible, already working. And you need to see that if you like this kind of this way of working, it's not going to be something complicated for your promotion, for your next step within the company. And this logic from she calls it opt-in to opt-out default is very interesting, because this is what makes this flexibility option a key driver in a more diverse workforce, and something critical in the employer brand, because then if you're able to speak about it and to make your candidates understand where you stand on this option, you will be able to attract much more candidates, I think, in the process. And what is, I think, interesting in the current situation there, that we see, and I think it's the case in every countries, that before remote working was not something that companies really like. Now it's in everybody's life and every people's mouth, especially founders or directors. And so this flexibility is coming, and we clearly think at Welcome to Jungle that the companies that will be able to make the best of it and to communicate about it the best way possible, and again, as making it the default option of the company, it will bring tremendous impact on their recruiting and employer branding possibilities, and it will make the difference. Just maybe to give you a quick example on our platform, what we've witnessed since let's say mid-March, is that the demand for job offers on the platform that will meet the criteria that remote working is possible. So I think it's one of the bases of flexible work. The demand grew 8 times faster than it used to be. Of course, it's part of the global COVID-19 situation, but clearly it shows that this kind of flexible work is really important for people. We also see that before we had this discussion, I was looking at some of our statistics on the platform, and so we also saw that between 2 job offers, one without the possibility for remote working and one with this possibility, there is a 4 times difference on the job offer attractivity. So it's clearly a key issue, I think, to tackle, a key issue to communicate on, and it will also, I think, bring companies a lot of different options. For example, I'm thinking about companies that are well located in big cities, and they are only looking for candidates living in those cities. Here we see also that it gives you the possibility to attract candidates that are not only living where your company is, but can broaden your horizon and also attract people that say, well, for example, I'm living in the south of France or in the north of England, but yeah, I can work for this company because they can offer me the flexibility and the options to make this work. And we see today that it's something very important, a key differentiator for companies, because even if we all talk about remote working and so on, not all companies really think about it as a core way of working and something they can offer to all their employees. And especially for candidates, it's a key topic. For your employees, of course, it's a key topic. But even after, and Laetitia will, I think, talk about it too, it will be a key employer branding message also for the people that will be leaving the company, but because they will carry with them this kind of flexibility and way of working that I think is a strong leverage.
Thank you, Jérémy. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sure. And I think it also leads us the way of employer branding is a candidate issue, is an employee issue, and maybe it's also a former employee issue.
Yeah, definitely. And that message about diversity and inclusion is particularly appealing. And not only does Welcome to the Jungle make it easier for women, it makes it easier for everyone, because flexibility is not just for women, it's also for men. And I know you are personally committed to helping fathers be more committed as fathers in your company. And so besides flexibility by default for everyone, you also have this idea that paternity leaves should be longer and should be encouraged, and so that it will kind of level the playing field between men and women, or fathers and mothers, when everybody has access to the same the same flexibility, and it's easier than for everyone. But that's not exactly my subject. But
it's true that it's a very important topic. And for example, in France, we participated in a very important issue, that asking the government to make 1 month paternity leave standard for in France. And we had over 400 companies signing this petition, and so now they implemented it for their workforce. And now the government is taking action and is thinking about making a law about it. So yeah, it's a great advancement. And what also I think interesting in that is that there is a very interesting ripple effect on this kind of trend, because for example, in a family, if one of the two parents have more flexibility, it will certainly bring more flexibility to the other person. And so, you know, when companies are starting doing that, others will, because they need to comply with other work experiences, and so it can grow very fast. And I strongly believe in that.
The network effects of paternity leaves. That's
That's
a good way of putting it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's the importance of employee experience, as Jérémy described it, and that experience, the better it is, the longer people tend to want to stay within the company, obviously. But sometimes they do leave, not because their experience was bad, but because they have another opportunity somewhere else, or they want to found their own company, or they want to basically do something else. It does happen. And that's what I want to focus on now, is the importance of leveraging for the networks of former employees, of alumni, and how that can be an extremely powerful thing to do to boost your employer brand. Universities do it. They have powerful alumni networks that are very effective in the world of work. And company networks are also very many companies already do it, and do it quite well, but maybe not enough, and not as powerfully and effectively as they could. Because what all this means is that offboarding also matters. So the way an employee leaves the company and that experience, and the fact that the last impressions that they have of you, of your company, have, you know, long-lasting effects are very, very important. And we tend to completely neglect that particular process. You know, somebody leaving, it's just an administrative thing. They will just leave their phones and work computers, and it's usually it's a technical and legal process rather than an experience that's positive and that will leave the employees very satisfied. And it should be something very positive and satisfying. It's part of the culture. It's part of the overall experience. And so focusing more on offboarding as part of, you know, your culture, part of the employee experience, that's really a very important thing. So that's the first thing. And often former employees who had a good experience and good last impressions, they tend to work in the same industry. A lot of them will work maybe for a supplier, maybe for a customer or a competitor. But what that means is that they have a network that's particularly relevant to you and your business. They have peers, they have colleagues, they have friends who tend to have skills that might be relevant to you. So when offboarding is a positive experience, they will refer more future candidates to you. They will refer future clients, future customers, future suppliers. They're part of, basically, they remain in the family, and that can benefit the company in many different ways. And there's another phenomenon that's been growing for a few years. It's the so-called Boomerang employees. So and a lot of companies, Google among them, have developed more effective Boomerang programs to cultivate ex-employees and to encourage some of them. For example, women who choose to leave the workforce for a couple of years to look after a child, but it can be someone who takes a year off, someone, sabbatical, someone who does something else for a couple of years. So these companies want to encourage former employees to come back. And there was this survey that was carried out by the Harvard Business Review. It's called Cultivating Ex-Employees, that said that rehires, so people who used to work for your company and that are rehired after a certain while, are 40% more productive in their first quarter at work than people who come from a different company, who were never in your company. And also they tend to stay much longer. And so what that means is that once you start looking at people who leave as people who don't really leave, who are just part of an ecosystem or a community that's still, the extended family, like a cousin, right? And you want to keep strong relationships with them, because they may become your customers, they may become your suppliers, they are your brand ambassadors, and not just your employer brand ambassadors, but your customer brand ambassador. They will continue in a way to embody your company and your reputation, and they will carry it with them. And there's another reason why leveraging alumni is extremely important, is that it's so cost effective. It's relatively cheap with a lot of impact. It has really, really big returns. So there's one famous example of a company that does that very effectively. It's Procter Gamble. Obviously, it's a huge multinational with thousands of employees. The alumni network alone includes 40,000 people. That's like a city almost, or a large town. And it's one of the most effective because it's run by dozens of volunteers, the people who want to be a part and want to contribute. And they have publications, they have fundraising events, they have business conferences, they produce lots of very valuable content for former employees. They have local social events, fun events. They offer exclusive benefits and advantages to former employees, like, I don't know, special coupons or, you know, lots of little gifts and things that they can have. And basically, they consider the alumni to be and to remain forever a part of the family. And that concept is just a very powerful one, because basically it's like being part of it's like being part of a core. You're part of it forever. It doesn't mean that you have to be a large corporation to be able to do that. Even smaller companies with dozens or just hundreds of employees can do it and have a very, very effective way to leverage alumni. It starts with on social media with a well-curated LinkedIn or Facebook page. It can simply be an excellent newsletter with valuable content. It can be small scale events, like, you know, sharing a drink on a regular basis. Lots of little things, but that are done with heart, basically, that are done with caring. And with the idea of bringing value to people who will continue to, you know, give back. And I think that's something that's not done well enough by most companies. Most companies tend to ignore, or maybe they're upset that the employees left. And being upset, they think, okay, just let them go, and they want to forget about it. And that's not the way to go about it. I think, former employees are a valuable asset.
Amazing, thank you very much. I love that boomerang analogy, and yeah, P&G do some great things as well. So thank you to both of you. What we're going to do, because we are running slightly over time, and I'm a sucker for timekeeping, so we're going to add all the questions to the end of the session. So please, everyone, do keep on asking those questions, but we'll group all of the questions together for Jérémy, Laetitia, and Kate at the end of Kate's session. So, Kate, I think if you are ready to go, do remember, because you've got videos, to tick the boxes to share the computer out.
Click that one before. I'm going to click it now.
Amazing, excellent. I'm going to come off. I can hear you. I can.
Cool.
Yeah, your screen's up. So I'm going to come off, and I'll see you shortly. Oh, you're not on presenters mode. There you go. Yeah, perfect.
Nice. Okay, when I go to the live social channels, Natasha, if you can't see my screen and it's stuck on the PowerPoint, please do shout out, and I'll make sure that
I will let you know how you're getting
my
on.
Screen sharing. Yeah. Cool. So as we just said, and that's all. Thanks for listening. And I think we'll move to the Q&A now. Natasha, I don't know if you're going to be hosting that or.
I sure will, Kate. That was really insightful. Thank you so much for it. I'm just going to stop sharing your screen, Kate, if that's okay.
Sure.
I'll do that. So yeah, no, thank you very much. Is it weird that I now fancy a beer? Anyone else fancy a beer?
Do you know what? I really fancied one this morning, and it is only 11:24 in the UK anyway. But yes, we'll have to wait till virtual happy hour at 4 o'clock.
There you go. There you go. I'm sure you get some great ones. So for the Q&A, we can probably invite Laetitia and Jérémy on if you guys are open. But we have had a number of questions, so which is great. Laetitia, I know that you've been answering some of the ones that were more relevant to yourself privately, so thank you very much for doing that. Just before we get into the Q&A, and whilst people are still listening, I'm just going to launch our feedback poll that people can do as they're running through. So if you guys could just do that just whilst I'm asking the Q&A to the speakers, that would be wonderful. So Kate, I think probably the first question that came through was, when EVP is used, is it not what the company offers, such as their reward package, rather than just a mission statement?
Yeah, so I can answer that one. Yeah, so it is everything, I think. You know, obviously, when somebody's choosing to join an organisation, it's a huge decision. As Jérémy was saying, you might take like a few hours deciding on Amazon or John Lewis or something what product you buy, and then you might kind of buy it because you know it's the right one from reading the reviews or hearing some recommendations from friends. Applying for a job, you know, we invest in months of awareness and in building employer brand. We invest in huge recruitment and sourcing teams to get hold of people. Then we invest as much as we can in a really great recruitment and onboarding process. So what I mean by kind of describing that it's a very long process and there's a lot of touch points to help answer your question now about rewards package is that all of those data points and all of those things about who you are critical to your EVP and employer brand, because they all create your external reputation as an employer.
Mm-hmm.
So reward package is critical, yes. Obviously you want to be competitive, or you want to be at least at market average. If you're below that, you're going to have other major sells for why people want to work at your organization in most places. But I guess what the EVP and employer brand aims to do is to define the more cultural mission statement and to express the more cultural elements of an organization that make them special and unique. Whereas the reward package is a little bit more of a kind of recruitment or a HR feature, where you're going to get offered a package, a salary, remuneration, benefits, whatever it is, and it kind of is what it is. I think you'll often find that reward packages, organizations are not hugely flexible. It's at a certain banding, it's at a certain bonus level. Whereas I think if you've got a great culture and you've got amazing things to say about your organization, then you can get that out externally and really shape employer brand, and that can be a real reason why people join the organization. So I'd say it gives you a huge amount of power defining your EVP and then expressing that through your channels and campaigns.
Yeah. Amazing, excellent, thank you. So one of the questions that Laetitia, you've already answered was, who looks after employer branding? Is it marketing or is it the recruitment team? And Laetitia, you answered both of them. So we've had a follow-up question to this, which is, how does your employer brand fit or align with the social media strategy for the business? Who owns that? Do you work together? Perhaps Jérémy or Laetitia, you're able to sort of perhaps talk about what most of your clients do, and then Kate, from your side, that would be great as well.
I'll let you answer that, because you probably have a better view of what the clients do.
Yeah, sure. Maybe also just to quick react on the who should be handling the employer branding within the company. I think leaders should too, because sometimes if you want to move things forward, you need to make this, well, leaders need to embrace this issue, because if not, sometimes it would be only marketing and it could be an issue. I think everybody should feel that it is a global issue for the company, and we should be sincere and authentic about it. But it's just a quick reaction. For our clients about employer branding, what we see that in fact they use every kind of channels they can. I think it clearly depends on where you stand, and especially where geographically you are. For example, in France, it's very different from the UK, I think, or for Central Europe where we are. I think you mentioned Glassdoor, for example, a few times before. For this kind of platform, for example, are more used in the UK or for example in Germany, where there is a QNUNU, for example, which is the German equivalent. In France, for example, it's not very used. So clearly, first, I think you need to assess what kind of media, of platform your potential candidates are using, and then you can define what are the main sources of content you want to do. For example, in France, I think the best companies on employer branding are the ones who understand that, in fact, they have to think employer branding as a whole, but also you have a very diverse pool of candidates. And for example, I was talking just the week before with a company very, very good on that, and they were telling us, so of course, I do employer branding for the company. I promote it on my own career page. I promote it on different other platforms, such as ours, of course. And then I do special content on GitHub, on Twitter, for web developers and DevOps and tech guys overall, because we know that they are here and they won't be in another media channel. I don't know. We do dedicated content, for example, on LinkedIn, and for more sales and marketing guy, because we know, for example, for sales guys, they spend their time on LinkedIn hunting for new deals. So we know that if there's a place they need to see our employer branding content, it should be there. And I really like this approach because you can think about your employer brand as a whole concept, and then you can apply it to different kind of population and find the best way to put it there.
Yeah, and Kate, from your side, yeah, thank you very much, Jérémy. It's very, very good points, because not everyone is on every single platform, are they, at all? So, Kate,
unfortunately, no.
No, exactly. And Kate, where does the employer branding sit with the sort of social media strategy for you over at AB InBev?
Yeah, so when I started last February, I kind of inherited a few channels, really. So I've got a LinkedIn AB InBev corporate company page, which is shared with other parts of the organisation, other geographies that share the Anheuser-Busch InBev corporate brand. We don't have that corporate brand in every location, but in many we do. So that's a kind of global and zone and local channel. I then got my own Facebook European Careers channel and my own Instagram European Careers channel. And then I have a European Careers website and a European playlist as well on YouTube, as those last two are more kind of hosting rather than massive outreach. So yes, I do. I'm lucky, right? And that's, well, it's lucky that I have those, and it's lucky that I've got some team members that help me produce content. On the other hand, sometimes I think that's too many, and we're always doing various content for various inventory, for various channels. And we've only recently started to properly reflect on the data to say, where is our biggest wins in terms of impressions and views and reach, and where are we kind of flopping and no one's really seeing it. So I think if you're in the model where you've got various channels, and that's a very mature model, then you need to look at where to put your efforts. I did see one question come through saying, and it's a classic thing, I've got no budget, I've got no team.
That was going to be my question to you, Kate.
Yeah, and one recruiter, please don't tell me that you spent £1 trillion with MSL, because I don't care. So what can they do? I think, as I had my screen up earlier and I was showing that I'd posted about this event, I've posted my book club, I've posted my blog. Do that, create content yourself. As I say internally when I run LinkedIn personal branding sessions, you can't break it. Just make sure it's, professional and friendly. Make sure it's nothing that you wouldn't want to see on the, the Daily Mail headline tomorrow from a corporate reputation perspective. Make sure it's proofread and you've got full stops and capital letters in the right place. Keep it short and sweet if it's a LinkedIn post. Even keep it nice, 300-400 words if it's a LinkedIn blog on their Pulse platform on LinkedIn. And get out there and start building your brand and start building your corporate reputation brand. Keep it really simple. Post a job advert. And get it and get that. If you've got open vacancies at the moment, there's some companies who are hiring more and more of your supermarket or whatever. So yeah, just get posting. I think that's something you can do now that will create some movement, and then hopefully in the future your company might want to invest in a kind of more full employer brand and recruitment marketing.
So essentially using your employees to build your employer brand online. Everyone's got a phone, everyone can do a quick video and talk about what it is that they're doing.
Yeah,
it's a very cheap and effective way.
And recruiters can be the leading light for that, really. And some of the best recruiters and sources that you guys would have worked with or seen are really active on LinkedIn. And people know them, but they know their organisation, they know their roles, and it's a great relationship there, right, between yourself, your organisation, and your roles, and your employer brand. So yeah, that would be a top tip for getting going tomorrow.
Yeah, amazing. And what about at the moment? So obviously, I know you shared the house plants that people have got in their home offices. What kind of content can staff share on social now? Because has it been a challenge to obtain that new information? Because
I've seen a couple of questions come up. So there's only so many work from home screenshots companies can share. Yes, but we will try to share another one and see how it goes. Yeah. So I think how could I answer this? So I think there is plenty you can do. Like when I joined the industry, I think it was 8-ish years ago, we didn't all have smartphones, and we were like traveling around we weren't investing necessarily frequently in professional photo shoots and stuff. So I remember working on accounts as part of an agency where I was scrabbling around for one photo of a guy, you know, on an oil rig doing this or whatever, and ending up with like a typo only advert and stuff. I mean, it was painful. But now we're in a great situation where we can all be content creators. And I'd suggest, you know, be confident in the variety of different content you can create, and be confident in asking your employees to do that and coach them along. You know, so yes, I think that whole employee Zoom call, you know, things is getting a bit boring now, but why not go to the next kind of mode, which is what we've gone to on our side as well, of asking employees to film themselves. And again, I am lucky that I've got plenty of brand and marketeers and salespeople in my organisation, so they are quite extroverted, they know how to light a video, you know, they're articulate, and perhaps you might not have that, but maybe you can find 3 or 4 social influencers or social stars internally who would be able to do that. So yeah, just go heavy on the user gen is what I'd say. The user gen is also working a lot better in terms of your organic reach on LinkedIn. Surprisingly, it's a professional channel, but user gen works best. And additionally, it works very well on Instagram as well. So I just say, yeah, just encourage and dive in and get content with people filming themselves, people recording themselves, people taking their own photos, and try and keep it varied. And as I said earlier, you know, try and get the human element. I think we're all still living human lives of, is it the sporting challenge you're doing? Is somebody running their own HIIT sessions for employees? Is it your house plants? Is it community initiatives around disinfectant or free beer for health workers? You know, what brand launches done digitally? There's still plenty going on in my organisation as there is in yours. So just try and get that user gen content to get that message out.
Yeah, absolutely. Jérémy, I've got a question probably best directed to yourself, actually. So what methods could you use to define or showcase your overall company culture and brand if you're a large organisation where you have lots of micro cultures sort of going on? Where have you seen, or how can you sort of combat that, or do you embrace it?
Oh, it's a very good question. It's a tricky one,
yeah.
Especially.
That's why I gave it to you, Jérémy.
Yeah, I think it's especially for a large organization, and in fact, it's like a matrix question, because you both have the cultural differences, especially when you're in different countries, and the job differences. People doing really very different things on their everyday work life. So I think if the question is, do you have to embrace it? I think it's not really a question. You need to. You have to, if you want to attract and hire the right people for you. And what we see here is that I think it's very important to define an employer brand that speaks for everyone, because as Kate mentioned, your employer brand is your company culture. So anyway, at one point, it's needed to have like a core values, and something that everybody understand and stands for. So I think this is your global overall communication. And then again, you need to think about what makes sense for every community. I was talking earlier about the tech community, because this is an industry that we know quite well at Welcome to Jungle. And for example, for this, what you want to promote, what you want candidates to understand, it's quite different from others. For example, I think a lot of companies right now, for example, are doing, you know, tech engineering blogs to communicate about what they do. For example, it brings more sense for them to strictly talk about what they do, what the challenges they face, and how they make that work. And possible candidates are reading that on their everyday work life and say, well, this is interesting. Maybe I should think about this company. I know next time I'm looking for a job. And it's quite different from other, I know, salespeople, marketing people, HR people. So I think you can completely build that. And it's part, I think, a company effort to be sure that you make everything work so that they can do that. And for example, in our company, we we allowed tech people to have writing lessons, because we saw that if you the main challenge to create a tech blog, for example, is that they don't want to write because they think they don't know how to do it. And for example, on the marketing side, some companies, for example, are creating podcasts or content to speak about what they do, because they in fact leverage the fact that bringing more transparency to what they do is okay, and because it will attract other people and making people want to join the company. So I think it's if you create a framework where people can express themselves and especially write things or exchange things, and this is something we didn't discuss about, is what I think very interesting this year, and especially after the lockdown period, is that we've come to a written culture within the company. Because before, we were within the offices, and we were talking to each other, and a lot of what was happening was oral, and now it's not the case. And so we need to write things. And I think also employer branding could be about writing what is happening within the company. And just to conclude on this, I have one quick example that I think very interesting and what really works is what 100% remote companies do on this. Just the example of GitLab, which is a tech company in the US. If you go on their website, they've written everything about their culture, the way they work, who the people are. And in fact, well, last time I spent 3 hours on that, and I don't want to join this company, but I'm good where they are. But clearly, it was so interesting because in the end, I understood how they work, what they do, and if in the end it would be a good fit for me. And we were talking about budget and so on. I think for me, sometimes it's not only a question of budget; it's the question of the time you want to involve in this kind of process. And this is also why you need the leadership team, I think, to be okay with that, because it's something that you're not putting in the operational stuff, but it has a long-lasting value, which is quite important.
Yeah, amazing. And what was the name of that US company that does it well again? What can you spell it?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. I can bring the link if you want in the.
Oh yeah, if you could pop it in the chat, that would be.
Yeah, sure.
Make sure it goes to all attendees as well, because I think we can have separate ones. So, amazing, excellent, guys. I think we could probably go through Q&A for another sort of half an hour or hour at least. But we are running out of time, I'm afraid. So. Thank you very much to our speakers. It's been a really enjoyable session. To be honest with you, employer branding and culture is probably one of my favourite throughout the year. So thank you very much for sharing that. We do have a number of upcoming events for anyone that's still online. We do have a few upcoming events over the next sort of few weeks up until summer holidays. If we are going on summer holidays, but we've got quite a lot on employer branding at the moment. So we've got an EVP session next week, and that's talking about storytelling and gamification. We've then got an employer branding virtual conference, which is a full day event online, so you'll see my living room again for you. There's also a recruitment leaders conference on the 1st of July, so management level and above. And then we've got a roundtable discussion event talking about recruiting enablement and recruitment sort of processes and efficiencies on the 8th of July. We do also have our awards, which we are running. The awards evening will be on the 2nd of December. However, the entries will be closing at the end of July. So if you are interested, if you've been doing some amazing work over the last, sort of 9 to 10 months at the moment, then do get involved. So hopefully you guys have written down those ones. I can't move my slides. So a huge thank you to our event partner. Welcome to the jungle. The session is still going until 12 o'clock. So if you go back to reception, you can go to the exhibitors hall and you can ask a few more questions to the team, have a look at their documents, some of the products and services that For anyone that asked questions throughout this session that we didn't get around to answering, I do apologise. Go and chat to the team. They might be able to have get the answer for you as well. So there's still another sort of 20 minutes or so for you to do that. But that is us done, I believe. So thank you so much for joining us today. A huge thank you to Kate, Jérémy and Laetitia. Brilliant insight. I learned a lot, and it was really great to see some of the case studies. So thank you very much to everyone. We will be sharing the recording minus Kate's slides, but we will get an alternative over to you guys shortly. So thank you very much for joining, and hope to see you at one.
Thank you.
Soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
No problem.
Bye-bye.